Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soft Bites podcast. Hello, George Andre. How are you?
Hello, Manuela. Nice to see you again in the podcast.
Yes.
Almost ending the summer. Is your vacation over?
No, don't say that. Don't say that. We are in the middle of August still. No. Summer is my favorite time of the year. So no, not almost over. Just in the middle of summer yet. But yes, I had my vacation. It's over. But I like the summer vibe. I like to work with the summer vibe. So yes. And you're going on vacation now, right?
Yes, I'm going on vacation in the next week to the south of Portugal. Much needed rest. This year has been over the last 3 months. I've been having construction in my practice, the final stage, and it's over in a couple of weeks. And there was a lot of, when you are working the place under construction, there's a lot of constraints. Nothing is in the right place. The team is still adjusting to these new spaces. We have a chill out space that is on the third floor. The second floor is is where the clinical rooms are. So we are still adapting to some stuff, and it was challenging, but it's all good. I can't complain. Feel a bit tired because I've been working long hours.
And congratulations are in order for your article is out. You already mentioned your
Thank
article
you.
here on the podcast.
Thank you.
And it's out there. So congratulations. Really
Thank you.
proud of you as your friend and colleague.
I know I should also be more proud of myself because the article came out and I haven't been paying it due attention. I mean, I've been having a lot of requests for sharing the article and some very nice feedback. And I should make a mental note to celebrate it more. But there was so much stuff going on in my mind over the last, like I said, over the last months that that was a little bit placed aside. So, but that was very good. It was something that I worked for the last 3 years, and it was very good. It was a very nice accomplishment. There were a lot of Portuguese people involved. Doing a 3-part article on the top magazine today is not easy at all. And yes, I think that I should be very proud. Yes, you know that clip of Snoop Dogg that is making a speech.
Yes, I want to congratulate myself. Is something like that, right?
No, actually, it was at last. Basically, he was thanking everybody,
okay.
And at the end, he said, "And I want to thank me." And and yeah, I think that I think that sometimes we forget that, especially when we have a lot of stuff going on, which was my case. But yes. And I think that in this, after the construction is done, I think I'll be more focused on that and maybe integrating more and being aware of the impact that the article has been having,
and celebrating
which is very
also,
good. Yeah,
and celebrating yourself.
And celebrating, yes, yes.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about actually about balance. So how to create balance and healthy working hours for your office, because sometimes dental clinics are known to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes it's like you have an hour to get to the practice, but you don't have an hour to leave the practice. I know many colleagues that still work like that, but things are changing. I think that nowadays this is less and less done. But
Yeah.
it's still done, at least in Portugal.
An
For
issue.
example, my
Yeah.
experience in
Yeah.
Belgium is a little bit different. We're going to talk about that, and the differences of countries. But nowadays, and we also talked about this when we talked about the newer generation. So
Exactly. I was
and
thinking about that.
yeah, there's more concern about your work hours, and there's more respect, because I think there's more awareness about the need of boundaries in order for you to be able to also have time for the other part, for your family, for your social life, for taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
also for going to the gym, to whatever it is that you do that you need to take in order to take care of yourself. So how can the question here, and our theme for today is, how can we create balance and healthy working hours for your office when you work in a dental clinic? And we started this conversation by talking about your article, and we're congratulating you about your
Yeah.
article. And I think this is a very important thing on dentists, is that the work is not over when you get up of the chair, right? So you have your
Yeah.
working hours when you work in the patient's mouth, but there's a lot of
Yes.
work besides that.
Outside.
So outside that, so tell me, how do you create your balance
Yeah.
for your working hours in the different working areas that you have, and how you do that in your practice, because you are a dental clinic owner, so you also have
Yeah.
to manage that for your employees and colleagues. So these are completely two different areas. So one, it's you, and the
Yeah.
other one is your practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's. I think it's a very, very important theme that we're going to talk about today, because it's very central in our lives, right? And I think that the time that you spend working in the practice and outside the practice is really affecting our life quality. For example, let me talk to you about my day today. And I was telling you that over the last months I've been working long hours, and not necessarily in the practice, because for example today I worked in the practice in the morning. I saw three patients. I came home and I was about 2 hours on the computer sending emails. And I went to the beach, I went surfing. But at the end of those 2 or 3 hours, at the 2.5 hours, at the end of those 2.5 hours, I was completely exhausted, because there was so much stuff that I had to take, that I had to take care of by email before going on vacation. So I think there's a lot of nuances here, and we can make like a timeline here of how it was in Portugal in the old days for you and for me, right? Because you also
Mm-hmm.
worked in Portugal in the
Yes.
beginning of your
Mm-hmm.
career. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that dentistry, in when we started to practice, it was extremely common to leave the office at 9 or sometimes at
Mm-hmm.
10 at
Working
night.
6 days a week, 6 days a week, from
Yeah,
9 o'clock in the morning until I mean,
yeah,
it's what I said. You had an hour to arrive to the clinic, but you didn't have an hour to
yeah,
leave the clinic, because you never say no to emergencies. Usually
yeah,
the appointments will be late, because you had like half an hour
yes,
appointment. So it was normal, it was
yeah,
considered to be normal that you were maybe sometimes 1 hour, 2 hours late. So if your last
yeah,
appointment is at 6 o'clock, that means that
yeah,
that patient that was at to be seen at 6 o'clock would be seen around 7:30 sometimes. So yes, sometimes from the 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the evening. I remember those times 20 years ago, and
yeah.
it was normal. It was
And
considered to be normal.
yes,
Hmm.
yeah, that's the point. It was cultural. I mean, and there's lots of factors involved in that. Why? And I think that maybe even in more Nordic countries, that happened the same, like in the 60s or in the 70s or something like it, right? And just like everything, um, uh, especially Latin countries like Portugal, Spain, and Italy, we tend to how should I say it? we tend to have difficulty setting boundaries. And I think you talk a lot about that. We make a mistake between compassion and empathy,
Empathy.
right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
we usually place the patient's desires in an unhealthy way above our own.
Hmm.
So I think there was a lot of factors that contributed to that. It was cultural. I mean, every doctor would work late hours. There was this notion that you would have to adapt to the schedule of the patient. So most patients would leave at 6 their work, and you would have to see them at around that hour. Um, there was also the kind of dentistry that was done at that time was much more single tooth center dentistry. I mean, there was pain, you would take care of that tooth. There was a fracture, you would take care of that. So there was not that much planned treatments, if you understand what I mean. I mean, there was not like a treatment plan that was to be followed. It was more like a reactive dentistry. So there's pain, you come over, we'll fix it. You broke a tooth, you come over, we'll fix
Hmm.
it. Your child is in pain, you come over, we'll fix. There was not much prevention. So there was a lot of we were a lot of there was a lot of fires
Hmm.
to attend. And that's one of the things. The other thing I think is also like every country, there's a evolution in terms of what an healthy schedule is, and we see this more in the Nordic countries. And in Portugal, we didn't see that at that time. That it was like more or less of a chaos. And today, I think that even the patients they start to understand that they need to respect other professionals' schedule, right? And that notion, I mean, that sense of, I mean, that respect for the other people's schedule was not present that much at that time that we are talking about. And we are talking maybe in the 90s, right? 90s and in the early 20s. So it was something that was extremely common. And yes, things are changing. Things are changing, and I think there's a lot of forces making pressure so that that change goes on. And first, yes, the patients are more aware that they need to respect other people's boundaries, right? Um, and let's not forget and that the employees, the dental nurses, and the staff was suffering a lot with that. I mean, it was normal so that a dental nurse or even a nurse or some staff in any sort of medical office would not have time, a specific time to work to end the day.
Hmm.
And that is something that was extremely. I believe it was extremely dangerous for someone that works in that. Imagine if you have a husband or a wife that needs to understand that there is no time for you to get home, right? So I imagine the amount of problems that can arise in that family. And that was a given thing 20 years ago. That was something that was given. So another force would also be the fact that newer generations and even staff today they don't accept this anymore. And I think they are right. I think it is important to set boundaries, and it can be a little bit problematic for people that were used to work in a given schedule like 20 years ago, and then they need to adapt because there is no way that these newer generations would accept to work without any sort of provision for the end of the day. There is no way that this could happen. So yes, there was an evolution, and the evolution has several causes. All of them, I think, they are positive and they are legitimate and they are understandable. I mean, for the dentists, because they understand they need to have some balance. They understand that the dentist that is practiced today needs to be scheduled, right? Of course, there are emergencies, but there are not as much as it used to be. But the dentistry that we practice today is a planned dentistry, something that needs to be scheduled more than a reactive dentistry. and also because of the staff. I mean, the staff also is not allowing that to happen, and I think that this should not be seen in a negative way. And also the patients, I think that the patients are more understanding than that. But the patients, and we'll talk about that. We have to understand that if you allow an extended working hour for your patients, they will take advantage of that, because they are paying, and they are less sensible to that. They are less sensitive to that, and I think there's also something that we can talk about. But tell me, what was the big difference when you started to work in Belgium, when you left Portugal, right? And you start to work in Belgium. What was the comparison between what you did in Portugal and what was happening in Belgium, and when was that?
I have to say to you that one of the reasons why I decided to look for work outside Portugal. One of the reasons was the working hours, because at the time I already had made a change in my life, that I was only working 4 days and a half. So I was working from Monday to Friday, and I was not working on the morning of Wednesday, because I inscribed myself to learn a new language and everything. So I decided, okay, I'm working 4 days and a half, and I managed to make that change. But then the practice that I was working at the time was bought by this big group, and they started to wanting dentists to work on Saturdays. They started to want dentists to work long hours, to go back to half an hour appointments. So I also, one of the things that I was able to change
Yeah,
was not to have those half an hour appointments, to have the freedom to say, okay, for this patient, I need 1 hour. Because what I noticed is exactly what you said in the beginning. I was having that reactive dentistry, and when I needed time to do something else, then
yes,
I was not able to do it, because I didn't have the time in half an hour. So okay, we're going to
yes,
schedule
of course.
another time, and it was always half an hour. And I was able to change that also in my way of working. So I was already working in 2014. I was already working, not having half an hour appointments, being able to have the freedom of having more time for the patients according to the treatment that they need. I
Yeah,
was working 4 days and a half, and because the clinic was bought, I was forced, between commas, I was not forced to anything, but I was proposed to start working on Saturdays again, start working more hours, going back to half an hour appointments. And um, and I said to myself, no, I'm not going back. I'm not going back
yeah,
to what it was, because I this is not the dentistry. I'm not. I was starting to, again, reaching the end of the day, not feeling happy about my work, and I knew that it could be different. So I was not going back. So I remember at the time I spoke to a friend, a colleague that was already working in Belgium, and she told me, look, here you still have that. So you still have a working schedule, that it's only in the week. No one works in the weekends. Last appointment is at 5 o'clock. Most of us only work 4 days a week. No one says how much time you can no one obliges you to have half an hour appointments. You make your own agenda. So that is still here, you still have that. So that was actually my main reason to look for work outside of Portugal. And that's what I went to, actually only one interview in Belgium, and I got the job, and I moved. And yes, it's true. So in Belgium, and this was back in 2015. That's when I first started working in Belgium. And at the time, there was already the beginning of the 4 days work week. So
Hmm.
you started with the 5 days, but then it didn't took long. So 1 year, maximum 2 years, and you make your agenda and you can move for a 4 days work week. But it's important
Yeah.
to know that the 4 days work week is, again, clinical work, when you work in the chair with your patient. So you still
Hmm.
have the 5 days, but you consider the other day for you to do all the other work that you have to do as a dentist. So your
Yeah.
treatment plans,
Yeah.
your emails, your bureaucracy, your accountancy, all of that. Even if you are not
Exactly. Yeah.
a clinic owner. Okay, so I'm talking about when I say that in
Yeah.
Belgium, dentists have a 4 days work week. I'm talking about clinical work. If you
Yeah.
don't own a clinic, so the fifth day is for you to do all the work that it's not
Yeah.
in the chair. If you are an owner, a clinic owner, then you have even less time on the chair usually. So you work three
Yes,
days
I
and you have
understand.
2 other days to work
Hmm.
with all everything that you need to do in order to manage a practice. So
Yeah.
and the hours that you work are also very 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 strict. So usually
Productive. Yeah.
clinic starts or at 8:30 or at maximum 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the last appointment is usually at 4:30, so that at 5 o'clock
Hmm.
you are ready, because of course then the assistants still have to manage everything in the clinic.
Yeah.
But usually no one um, no one works more than the last appointment. It's 4:30, and if it's like an half an hour appointment.
Yeah. Some emergency. Some
So
really. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this is
One,
very
one other.
yeah. Tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on. Go on. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that no one asks. So the patients are used to this. So no one asks for,
Yes.
but I only leave at work at 6 o'clock. Can you arrange an appointment for 6:30? So no one asks for that, because they know that that does not exist, and that does not exist on that clinic and on the other clinic on the side, on the other clinic on the other city. So it's everything is very well uh, manage in the
Accepted.
way that, yeah, that everyone works according to the same rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also on the weekends, what they have is like they call it there's a watch dentist that it's so we have to do
Hmm.
one Saturday or one Sunday a year. So
Per
you
month
inscribed
or a
yourself.
year. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
it, an emergency dentist. So for the
Yeah.
emergency. So in every city, if someone has an emergency, it's like a pharmacy, the system of a,
Yeah.
of a, a pharmacy of duty.
Yes. Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
and of course it's only for emergencies, because you really have to describe everything that you do and to justify everything that you do. So it's really only for emergencies, and people know that they have to pay not only for the emergency treatment, but also for a special fee for going into the emergency on that weekend.
Yeah.
So I think that because everything is very standard, so everyone
Yeah.
is working according to these rules, things are much much easier.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Yeah.
you stopped your practice, you close the door of your practice at 5 o'clock, and your neighbor closes at 8 o'clock. No, everyone ends at the same time. So I
Yes.
think that makes things
And that
much
that
much easier.
much easier, right? So yeah, that's why we see that there's a big cultural difference between some of the countries where things are more standard, as you say. A couple of things I from what you said was that you said that when you went to Belgium, you saw that things were very different, of course. And I would just like to emphasize how important this issue is, this scheduling thing is, because I think that if you get this thing wrong, if you get your schedule wrong in your life, nothing else can work. Because time, at the end of the day, time is the most precious thing that you have, for good and for the bad. And I really would like to especially for people that are listening to us and that they struggle with this, and there's a lot of people struggling with this really is a big thing, and you have to get your grip on this thing, because otherwise your whole life melts away, and this is something that I wish I had learned when I was younger, because what is tempting, especially when you are young, or when you are a clinic owner, it's very tempting to make more money, right? Number one, and number two, to please the patient. Oh, I'll see you later, late at night. Oh, I will, and I've talked about this several times in the podcast. It's very tempting to seduce the patient, to want to be liked by the patient in the first years of your career, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that, because we don't have the confidence, and we try to. I mean, we try to please people. That's what we do when we are young. We are people pleasers, and patients, in this case, patients pleasers, because they pay us, and we are in the beginning of our careers. We want to prove ourselves. We want to prove to the place that we are working. We want to make money. We want to make our practice grow, because we need to. And it is very tempting to do a lot of mistakes, like trying. One of the biggest mistakes I've talked about here, which is trying to do everything. And then it's difficult then to refer the patient to some other colleagues. We talked a lot about that. And the other thing, which is to see the patients late in the evening, or to be completely available for the patient every time without any sort of rules. I think there's nothing wrong with that if you feel like you have the energy for that at that time, but you will always pay a price for that. You'll always pay a price, especially if you are a clinic owner, because that is not sustainable. And because that is not sustainable, how will you deal with the unavoidable change that you have to implement later on? Because it's not sustainable to see patients. I mean, you can see a patient at 8 or 9, yes, but you have a couple of issues. First of all, you're tired, right? And the second, you either have to different shifts of staff, right? Because if it's only one shift, it's almost impossible to ask someone to work more than 8 hours in Europe and in the US, in any developed country. It's almost impossible. No one is willing to work more than 8, 9 hours maximum. It's impossible. And not only the extended working hours, the problem is that the unpredictability and the uncertainty of when they come out. So yes, it may be tempting for you to work late hours, but you will have to face with the consequences of that. And that can be really a disaster. I'm not even talking about the exhaustion that you will eventually, and the burnout that will be more than likely. I'm talking that you will have to revert the situation sooner or later. And what will you tell that patient that you have made normal to see him or her late hours? What will you tell them? Oh, now I am rich and I don't need you. And if you want to, you come at 5. Do you understand? These things are really the things that take the light, that keep you awake at night. Oh, so now I have to make this change. How am I going to talk to these older patients? How am I going to feel about that? And I think that for everybody hearing us, especially in the early days of their career, be really aware of this mistake. There's nothing wrong with seeing the patients late in the evening, but you will have staff issues unless you have 2 shifts, and you will eventually need to turn that around. Okay, and I think that can be a really you can be being between the sword and the wall. It's going to be a very difficult decision once you realize that is not sustainable, and you may do that for maybe 5 years, some people 10 years. And if you are really, really a warrior, you may eventually do like for 15 years, but you will eventually crash. It's impossible not to crash. And I think that especially Today, the way that we live, because we look at the side, we look at social media, and people have vacations and people have like a, let's say, normal life, right? And we want to have at least a balanced life, right? And it's not sustainable to be working more than, I would say, in the practice, 8 hours in the practice is, in my opinion, the absolute limit. And I don't think it's even possible, because today, as we were saying, with the planned dentistry that we have, you need to have time to work outside the chair. You need to have time to do treatment planning. You need to have time for email and communication with the lab, email and communication with the teammates, because as we've been saying in the podcast, there is no more unidisciplinary dentistry. I mean, everything is multidisciplinary. You have to do meetings, you have to send emails, you have to be focused, ordering material for the implants, for the lab, photography, video, etc. So I think that you need to think about all that it's not possible to see patients in long hours. It really is not possible. And and um, and and the staff is going to be completely mad at you. Well, you may say, well, but I have this old lady that works with me, and or I have this person that works with me, and she's single, and she has nothing else to do except work. Yeah, she's single now, but she'll find someone else, right? Or he will find someone else, and that's not sustainable for them either, you know. And think about that. And if you are doing this mistake, imagine what you will have to do, the conversations that you'll have to have with the patients to change that, because that will take you, that will cost you a few sleepless nights, trust me. And I've been there, and it's not a good place to be, you know. It's not a good place to be. And I've made that mistake, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've done in my clinical practice. um, and of course, that, like you were saying, if you are a practice owner, you need to work even less hours. Yeah, you need to work even less hours. And um, and and even the burnout. Yes, if you are someone like me, uh, I am a horse of work. I am like a power horse of work. I mean, if you let me, I would work 16 hours. If there's nothing else to do, I'll sit down on my computer, I'll write the articles, I'll send the email, I'll anticipate stuff, I'll think about podcasts, it just, I have no limit, you know. And some people are different than me, of course, but it's very easy to become a workaholic and become obsessed with work, you know. So I think that the best advice would be, okay, how do I want my life to be? Which I think this is what you did yourself, Manuela. Maybe you just have
Mhm.
a crisis or something, but even if you don't have a crisis, you just have to look at the future in 5 or 10 years and believe, how am I going to live this way? You may be single now, but you may be married in 5 years. You may be single now, but you may have a girlfriend or a boyfriend in 5 years. Will they tolerate that? And it's not only the late hours, is that unpredictability. I mean, you will not be able to book a dinner, you'll not be able to book a concert, you'll not be able to book a weekend, a
That's
flight on
that's
the
it.
weekend. Well, yeah, it really is. This is something really, really big and really important, because if you lose the control of your time, you'll basically completely lose the control of your lives, and the kind of things that you'll have to face later on are really, really, really dangerous for your mental health.
Mhm.
Th- th- that's something I would just like to call the attention. I mean, this is not a detail. Scheduling is really, really a big thing in, in,
Yeah.
in dentistry.
You know, in my experience, two of the big factors that create stress to dentists, and that if dentists manage, it will reduce in a drastic way their stress, is time management. Time management is a big one
Yeah.
for dentists. They have no awareness of time management. One of the
Yes.
reasons, it's because what you just said. I mean, in the beginning, you want to work, 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 and to please patients. So it
Yeah.
starts to become more. It start it it's like normal, more patients, so you need less time per appointment, and then the work becomes an automatic pilot, so it's like a circle, a vicious circle, if you are not aware of it. And then the second big stress factor in the dentistry is, like you said, planning. So anticipating. So dentists are lack these two things: good time management and good planning, because they enter in this autopilot mode, due to the fact that it's very easy to get lost. And okay, you finish one appointment, the other patient is already waiting, you go, so you have no time for everything, and this gets completely out of your sight. So if dentists just sit and really analyze their stress factors, what gives them stress, a lot of what gives them stress has to do with these two things: good time management. So we are talking about delays, you are talking about patients that cancel appointments. There are a lot of things that dentists say that cause them stress that has to do with time management. Good time management will solve a lot of problems in dentistry. Second, the planning. This makes a huge difference if you arrive to your day and you know exactly what you are going to do, because you will know exactly what you are expected to do, and that will immediately will lower the stress levels, and it gives space for the fun part, for the creativity, etc. So, but due to the fact that you work on that way that you were saying, so money, based on money and people pleasing, on patients pleasing, you this part of planning, of anticipating, gets completely lost. And that's when you don't have time for the big things. You only focus on the small things, right? and
Yeah.
and and to make change, when you already are working in this way, to make change is, yes, it's harder, but it's not impossible. We already talked
Yes.
about that also. But it's a lot of work, because you have not only to change
Yeah.
yourself, but also the way that a clinic works. But
Yes.
it's not impossible, but you really have to go to the root of the problem. And if you
Yes.
work on good time management in a clinic, and good time management, and on planning, so on anticipating how your days are going to be, how you want your days to look, how really, also it has a lot to do with what you were just said, to you really have to be aware of your energy, because a lot of procedures in dentistry demand a lot of focus and mental effort. You don't want to do that at
Yeah.
6 o'clock in the afternoon, when you're
Yes.
already tired and because you should reserve
Yes.
your best hours for that, when you can operate at your best, because at your we are not at our best. at, we cannot give 100% of ourselves in every hours
Yeah.
of the day. But what
Yeah.
I still am surprised is how dentists still are not aware of this, because these are basic things. If you think about
Yes.
it, I am not at six
Yeah.
o'clock I'm not going to be
Yeah.
at my best. Why am I seeing this
Yeah.
at
I
and I'm
think
saying 6 o'clock, I'm not saying 8 o'clock in the evening. But I don't know, I think for me it has to do a lot with, it's very easy in dentistry for you to follow in the autopilot mode, and
say
when
yes,
you are
to say
aware of
yes to
yourself, that
everything.
20 years have gone by, and it's very hard
Yeah.
to change. Why do you think that this happens?
I think this happens very often in dentistry uh, because we were not taught how to manage
True.
dental office.
Hmm.
That's number
Yeah.
one. We are healthcare providers, and there's a lot of money involved in dental practices, and we still see that. And this will bring me to another topic, which is tactics in to change this. I think one of the most difficult things is to say, okay, I'm going to stop seeing these last two patients, these last two appointments. Okay, but what is the amount of money that I'm going to lose doing that, right? So I think that the first thing that you have to understand is this: you will have to change that. That is not sustainable unless you have. There's nothing wrong if you have two shifts of nurses and you only enter in the afternoon and you want to work some days late and you some days in the morning, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have like a regular day, and if you don't want to see those last two appointments, the first thing that you have to be aware that this needs to change. This is not sustainable. This is démodé. This is impossible. This is impossible you cannot subject your dental team to this. And this is the first step. This is
Because
you
we're
have to
going
stop
to
this.
work in a burnout culture. So
Yes,
basically, and yeah.
it's no one will be will be at the reception with a happy face at 7, getting a patient at 7 or at 8. No one, right? It's impossible unless you have shifts, of course. But I'm just talking about a full day regular practice. So I think the first thing is that you have to be aware that this needs to change. You have to change this. Okay. The speed of that change, as we talk, both of we don't believe in drastic changes, but there needs to be a plan doing that. And the team needs to be involved, right? So I think that the first thing is, again, like any other change, you have to, in the staff meeting, you have to tell, look, I don't think that we are going on the right path. We need to change this. Of course, they will all agree. They will all agree. And some practices is difficult to do this change, right? One of the tactics is, and if you work like on something that is like, okay, I charge 60 euros per appointment or per filling, just increase 5 euros on each appointment. Just increase the prices, 5 euros per procedure, or 10 euros, or if you think 10 is too much, 7. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong with increasing the prices. So make sure that the amount of money that you want at the end of the day is covered by increasing the price. I know it's scary. I know it is scary, but really, this is the most obvious and the easiest way of all. Trust me, this is the easiest way of all. You have to increase. If money is the issue, if you're tight on money, just try to see, or you can even do one thing. Okay, so reduce the lunch time. Ask to your dental nurse, how about having lunch here? Let's have lunch here. And we'll see another one here. Or let's start early. Oh, the patient cannot come in at 8. Okay, ask him to come they cannot come at 8 in the evening. Okay, ask them to come at 8 in the morning. So one of the things is money. The other thing is rescheduling, shortening the lunch. And this is different for everybody. Shortening the lunch break. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not. Starting early on, okay? And one of the things that I do, but again, since I'm single, and I don't have kids, it's very easy for me. But I work a few Saturdays a month. Okay, I work sometimes one Saturday a month in the morning. So why is this scheduling important? Because you want to give an alternative to the patient that cannot come late on. And that alternative can be lunchtime, early morning. Okay, so come early in the Saturday. Oh, I have something with my kids. Okay, but we gave you the opportunity to come early in Saturday. And you can, I think you would be happier leaving your office at 6 every day that you work and working one Saturday a month. I think you would be happier doing that than consistently leaving your office at 8 or 9. This is for myself, and for you, this may not be possible. But if it is not possible, just find a way to either I think that increasing the prices is it's the easiest, and I think it's almost like a no-brainer. This is something that you need to do, okay? Because if you are seeing a lot of patients in the night, it means that you are probably you are a practice that is very price driven. That's my view on them. That's my view on the subject. So I would increase the price, and if you increase the price, you are obliged to increase the quality, and I think it will solve a lot of issues. The other thing is rescheduling stuff, lunchtime, early mornings, and the third thing I would say would be to involve the staff in this process. What do I mean by this? You want to train the staff to know exactly what to say to the patient that wants to come late at night. You want to have that completely at the tip of their tongue. Okay, so, and you can say something like, oh, we are just tired, it's the doctor is very tired. You just have, he just had like an health issue, which is an health issue. You are tired. He's having an health issue, and he just cannot work late hours. Or you can even say like we've been working a lot of hours, and we just can't work so many hours, and it's not just, we've been doing this for many years, and we just can't do that. And I think that you will be surprised of how good people react when you are just plain honest with them. We are very tired, and we just can't continue on like this. I mean, we understand we've been doing this, but now we have the alternative of one Saturday morning, or we have the alternative of starting at 8, or we have the alternative of coming at lunchtime, or just say that you just don't have any alternative. Look, we work a lot of hours, and we are just we want to do some change because we are very tired. So I think that these 3 tactical tips are important: increasing the prices, rescheduling, rearranging the agenda. And there's nothing wrong with working Saturday mornings if it's possible, because I think it's healthier. We need to sacrifice one Saturday a month for those patients. And then involving the staff and making sure that the staff has a script, because they want that. They want to be able to tell the patient the truth. And I think that telling them the truth is the best way. We are just very tired, and we just cannot work so long because we only have one shift. Just tell them, look, we only have one shift now, and it's just not possible. And if the patients like you and respect you, they will stay with you. If they say, oh no, I cannot miss my work to come to the dentist. Well, yes, and that's something that I think that's important also to talk about, is how to see the patient's perspective. Okay, yes, some patients, they cannot miss their working hours. Okay, Saturday morning is one thing, right? Saturday morning is one thing. And the other thing that you also need to give an alternative to patients is, oh, I miss, like every week I miss my job. I miss like 2 hours of my job because I have to come to the dentist. Okay, so book a full day with them and do the whole treatments in one day. Right? Book a full afternoon, and they will only have to miss the job one day, right? Because I understand. This is why, if you do planning on that patient, for example, this is something that I do a lot, which is, so the patient has 5 restorations to do, right? You can either come every day at 8 or at 7 for 5 times. But we tell them, and we don't even tell them, in the treatment plan that we present them, we give them the option, okay, do you want to book everything in one go? And the nurses, they never forget to talk about that, because they gain a percentage of that. So whenever there is something that I want to work on the practice, I give a percentage of that to the nurses. So if you want to do a couple of treatments in one go, they get a percentage for that. If they want to be paid, if I want that the patient pays in half in the beginning, they also have a percentage of that. So if you give that option to the patient, so let's just think about this. Okay, so let's say you are charging, for instance, 50 euros per restoration, and you have 5, okay? It's 250, right? You can say, okay, if we do everything in one go, we'll just discount 5 euros on each of the restorations, right? So you'll be charging not 250, you'll be charging 225, but you'll be doing everything in one go. You will save money because you'll not be spending so much material, okay? And you will be able to just occupy 2 or 3 hours of your practice, and you will solve everything to the patient, and you will not have to come more than once to the practice. This is, of course, not possible for every sort of treatment. But the thing is that I think there's a lot of resistance in dentists to do these changes. But the thing is, there is no other way.
Let me just say what you said is because what you said is so important. When you do the planning, you give not yourself the opportunity to plan everything and to know what you are going to do and what you're going to be looking at in the next appointment, but also you give the opportunity for the patient to plan his life just like you said. So um, it's so important. This it's completely different than for you to arrive in the morning and say, oh, what do I have today? Oh, but this is what he's coming to do today. Oh, but I don't have time to do this or that. And it's completely shift of energy. It's a completely shift of energy. And this planning, and we already we have a podcast episode about that. For the ones that are listening, just go back to the importance of a treatment plan, because this is the most basic thing, and with it will reduce stress immediately from that moment on. And also it gives also the opportunity for the patient to plan his life and his agenda according to your time. So it's I think that this is not considered enough. The fact that you give also the patient the opportunity, when you present the treatment plan and you know exactly, and
Yes.
the appointments that you have and the way that you can make them, that it's also a way of the patient to plan
Yeah.
his life according to your
Yeah.
schedules.
Yeah, all these things, they are connected, isn't it? I mean, we all talk
Mm-hmm.
about the basic stuff, which is like staff meetings, regular staff meetings with doctors and nurses, systems implemented, presenting a written treatment plan so that you can. I mean, the more time you spend doing a written treatment plan, the more time you save and the more money you make, because everything, like you said, it was planned. So that is really critical. And it doesn't have to be a fancy document, but just that the patient is aware of what they have to do, what are the costs, and what they can do in terms of timeline for the next months. So it really is. It's like everything is connected. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you've been understanding how we believe that it's not only one thing. It's a lot of different things that need to be rowing to the same side, right, to the same direction. Um, and but again, I can't get tired of saying this. This is something really critical in the dentist's life. This is not an optional thing. Oh, I like to work late hours, and I just want to be surrounded with people that are horsepowers with nurses that work late hours. I'll just pay them extra and everything. Man, it's just not sustainable. You cannot do that for the rest of your life. It's impossible. Something will have to give. You can say, well, my wife understands that. Well, she understands until a day she files divorce, isn't it? She understands everything until one day it's just too late. Or till one day that you just realize, well, I haven't been seeing him. I've never been to any of my son's ceremonies or concerts or games
Mm-hmm.
or everything. I mean, it's just not sustainable to work late hours. You may find it sustainable in the first years. You may get an illusion of that, but you will pay that price, and you may eventually not pay the price now, but you will pay it later on if you get that. And I know so many, and you, Manuel, as well. We know so many dentists that have this problem, that they reach their 40s, or they're sometimes not even their 40s, and they realize they are just trapped in the decisions that they made a few years before. They are just trapped because the market changes. Now all of a sudden you have to do a different sort of dentistry. You have to think about veneers. You have to call an orthodontist. You have to think about the periodontist. You have to think about the implant surgeon. And you just cannot see patients. You cannot book the same amount of time for every patient. Not even 1 hour for. If you tell me that you are booking 1 hour for every single patient in your practice, there's something wrong, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the procedures that you are doing is going to take 2 hours. Implants,
Mm-hmm.
perio, and this is done in even some small offices. These are things that need to be done, and the patients want that, and the patients need that, and the dentists are technically capable of doing that. So the way that we practice dentistry today is just completely not sustainable. It's not for you, not nor for the staff. And I think that for the staff, we need to go a little back, Manuela, to that episode on the new generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working with people in their 50s, 60s. I'm working with people in their 30s and in their 20s, in their 40s. And I see, and I understand that they see in myself the willing to answer to go this way, right? So they I think they're on my side here. That's what I truly believe. Um, but if I cross the line in one day or so, it's not that they are mad at me, but I can completely feel that their energy is not. I mean, they are not mad with the person, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And like I
What you
said,
mean
if you have
cross?
to
What
shift,
you mean
that's
cross
one
the
thing.
line?
Cross the line in terms of time.
Ah,
In terms
okay.
of time, if I just extend the procedure, I mean, I want them to be out of the practice by 7:30 maximum. That's what I
Mhm,
want. I want to have like
mhm,
8 hours and 7:30 maximum. And I think that it's not if you and you have to consider that it's very likely that you will hire someone in their 20s or their 30s. They are just not willing to go through this. It's just not. They will just not accept this. And I don't think that you are right or they are wrong or whatever. And I think they are more wrong than they are more right than we are. I mean, when I say we, my generation believing that yes, you have to work a lot, or if you think that you have to work a lot, I think they are more on the right track than we are. The thing is that I think you have to make them aware that yes, if we want to get out at 7, we need to be productive. We need to get things done. We need to get those emails sent on time. We need to get those treatment plans coordinated. We need to have a very good communication with the patient before, for example, one of the things that I implemented this week, which I was not very, is in big treatment plans 1 week ahead. Of course, we when the patient says yes, 1 week ahead we handle the payments with the patient when the patient is not in the practice. So, which sort of payment option are you going to choose? I'm not even talking about sending all the medication and the postoperative care 1 week before the surgery, because that's a given. But let's say the patient is given an email or sent a treatment plan, 10,000, 5,000, and the patient just answers them, okay, when can I start? Okay, so we're going to book an appointment, right? You may eventually lose like 10, 15 minutes in payment options with the patient there. So you either do it before the patient enters the surgery, or you do
mhm,
it the week before by phone. Or which payment are you going to choose? I want to choose payment A. So if you choose payment A in this first appointment, you're going to pay X. Okay, is that okay? Yes. Okay. How you're going to pay that? Are we going to pay by cash? You're going to pay my. Okay. All these things um, are just saving you a lot of time in the practice. So my rule is yes, we should leave early, but we need to work, we need to be productive,
mhm,
especially
mhm,
when the patient is not here. We want to advance as much as possible when the patient is not here. Everything that can be done without the patient in the practice, like for example, sending them by mail the whitening trays, or payment options, or treatment planning, or postoperative care. Everything that can be dealt before the appointment should be dealt before the appointment, because we want the patient to get in, not wait too much, get the thing done. Don't waste too much time on talk that has no interest, and then finish on time, and everybody go home and do what they want. So you
mhm,
want to
mhm,
have a coordinated team. And again,
mhm,
those things can only happen if you have treatment plans, written treatment plans, if you have if you have meetings, and if you have systems, of course. Otherwise, no. But like I was saying, I think that we need to talk a little bit about this new generation's insights, and this new
mhm.
generation's way of seeing their life. Because, like Gary Vaynerchuk says, he says they are not lazy; they just have a lot of options.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, I totally agree. I think that I give you an example. There's an exercise that I make when I work with a colleague of our age or older. That I know that I work with a younger colleague. I don't have to make, which is the exercise of you putting on your agenda everything that it's outside from work, but it's important to you. You should be on your agenda. You should prioritize those things the way that you prioritize your work. So if you run or if you go to the gym or if you do yoga, for example, I'm talking about sports, any activity sports, it has to be on your agenda. You know that on Monday morning from 8 to 9 o'clock or whatever, you're going to be doing that. In our generation or older, it's very hard for them to do that, and I suggest that they never done that. It's something that they are like, what? I mean, their priority is work, and that their agenda is work. Everything outside from that is everything outside from that, but the priority is work, and the agenda means work. So they start by small steps, okay. So this week you're going to choose one thing and you're going to prioritize it. And the funny thing is that after a while, their agenda of work is completely different because they realize that after a few time of doing 1 week, okay, this works. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy having this time to take care of myself. I never even I worked I'm working with a colleague that, for example, her time was to read, because she didn't remember the last time that she had time to actually finish a book. So just by the time of being on her agenda and having half an hour to do that every day. So in 1 month, she finished 3 books. So it's huge. She said, okay, this can be done. I'm going to start making more things. With the younger generation, this exercise makes no sense because they already do this. So everything that they valued, everything that they enjoy doing is already in their agenda, and they feel that they have to have time to do it in order to have that balance that we are talking about. So it's like um, they want to feel that their lives are filled outside of work, and they need that in order to, when they go to work, to also have joy in what they are doing. So I think that's, I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but I think that's the big
No, of
difference
course. Yeah.
here in the new generation. They feel that if they are rested, they are more creative. Of course, if they know the power of relaxation, they know the power of meeting other, of traveling, meeting other cultures. They know how to integrate that in their work, and they know that will add on their work. And that does not mean that when they are in the work that they don't do the job. They do the job. They are productive.
Yeah.
They are effective, but they are much better than us on boundaries. And those boundaries have to do for making time to the other things that they feel important. To fill their cup. That's
Yeah.
an expression that a colleague used the other day when she was talking to me. But we did, for us, it was
Yeah.
work. Everything outside of work doesn't I mean, it was something that I also had to learn how to do, to prioritize the tasks that
And
make me feel balanced.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know what I think, which is also good advice for people of our generation and older, which is don't try to fight this trend. Don't criticize them too much, because whenever, well, actually, we should have a podcast on how to stop the habit of criticizing anything. That's a good taste. I think that's an amazing exercise. But for this case, I see a lot. Well, even at last week, and this is just to finish because I think that uh, that we've covered some very important stuff. Last week, I had someone in my chair. It was my age. It was my age or something. I think he was probably younger than me, and he was a consultant of. He basically was a consultant and a so basically he would get you would find for big companies high profile people for top
Like
positions,
a
like
headhunter.
yeah, really.
Mhm.
We are talking about getting the best guys for some of the biggest international companies. And he was telling me, oh, I was on vacation and someone called me and they just said, oh, we need in 1 week we need to get this CEO for this Israeli company. Well, but I'm on vacation. The guy was, I'm on vacation. How can I? Well, you either do this or we'll just lose the job. And I think this is really a toxic culture because after that, the guy told me, no, before that, the guy had told me, I don't understand this new generation because they want to reach five and they just want to go home. And even yesterday, this happened to me. Someone called me from Israel and saying that if you don't find them in 1 week, we'll lose the job. And I was thinking to myself, how toxic is that whole thing? Because this guy feels completely trapped, isn't it?
Mhm. Mhm.
He says, on
Mhm.
the one hand, maybe he understands this newer generation, but on the other hand, the pressure is so high from the other companies, is so high that he just feels trapped. And I think that there's only one solution to that. You just have to accept that it's not possible to find someone within that short period. I think you just have to tell them, look, I'm going to do a nice job for you and I'm going to do my best, but I will do my best. But I just can't promise because if you want someone good, you know that good and fast and easy, they are just not compatible. And I think that you have to, like everything in life, you just have to let go at one point. And this is why I think it's important that if you find yourself criticizing this younger generation, you really have to rethink that because because if you think, of course there are good and bad things in nothing is black or white, everything is balanced. But I think that if the issue is, if you have someone that is productive, that is focused, and their only issue is to demand to have a predictable ending time of their day, that's legitimate.
Mhm.
And you have to understand that, and you have to let go all those things in your head that made you believe that you should be like a horsepower of work to work until 10. You have to let that go because that is not sustainable. That will eventually lead to a lot of issues at home, in family, in your own mental health. So my advice, if you find yourself criticizing the younger generations, I mean, I think that you have to let that go and you have to go deeper in that and try to understand what is happening and evolve yourself and just see if you can stretch your mind a little bit because otherwise you'll just like be this old person that is talking bad about everything and these new generations they have something that many think that they are right, they are better than us in many things.
Yeah, I mean, you just described a burnout culture, right? Where it's just hustle, hustle, and you sometimes you even and I watch it in some practices, you know, that you even the only way of you retain employees is like money based blackmail, you know. Like where else are you going to work, or
Yeah,
are you very lucky
yeah,
of
yeah.
working here, and
But
um
those things are over. That style is over. Those
let's hope
tactics are
so.
over. If you want to make money, yeah, if you want to make money, in my opinion, people need to be from your side because now we are in a completely open society. Every you cannot if you are an idiot, everybody will eventually know that you're an idiot. at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can hide that. I mean, you can hide for a couple of years, but I mean, people sense this stuff. I mean, my advice, if you want to make money, bring people to your side. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think. I don't think that today you can make, I mean, especially dentistry, people need to be cared with a great level of attention and focus. I mean, if you have like a low cost restaurant, I understand that you can just explore people. People go there for the prices, and if you want to go for that's one thing. But in dentistry today, the way I see it, even low cost clinics, I mean, people are much clever than what we believe. If you don't have the team on your side, they don't have to like we said. They don't need to feel. You don't need to feel like a family,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
needs to be
Mm-hmm.
respect, and
Mm-hmm.
people need to help
Mm-hmm.
each other. And if you don't bring people to your side, if you don't let go that habit of criticizing younger generations, I think that you will eventually lose more money, you will eventually lose more life than if you if you think about the situation in a more productive way. I think you need to be clever. I think if you're an entrepreneur in dentistry or if you're a dentist that is in leadership, you need to be more clever than that. You need to be able to bring people genuinely to, I won't say to your side, but to the practice side. And I think you need to be clever on that because I don't think that today it's possible to do it any other way.
Yes, and we are entering another subject that already we said that we do a podcast subject is on how to build a team that stays for the long journey. So, and we will talk
Yeah.
about that. But if you don't give those conditions, what you will have is you will never build a team that really is cohesive and that stays together for
Yeah.
many years. And of course, there are always people coming and going. That's natural. People have
Yes.
it's life happening, and people have an interests, etc. But a really strong team that stays for the long journey makes all the difference in a dental clinic. And I mean, I'm sure we have already colleagues in our course that were there because of that reason, so that no one can stay at their practice. So those clinics
Yeah.
that they're always changing staff. Staff is coming and going. And it has also a lot to do with what we are talking about. For you to be able to really treat people with respect, to be able to have a culture inside your clinic that, again, it does not have to be a family, but you are always all working under the same values, under the same goals, to the same with the same vision and with the same guidelines, which is very important. And it's very systems and protocols play a very important role here. And also for the person that is the in front and the head of the clinic to have the ability to be open and to be open to change, because yeah, things are
Yes. Yeah.
always changing, is like you
Changing.
said.
Yes.
And for example, the 4 days work week is something that is more and more
It's
talked
coming.
about, and
Yeah.
it's coming, and it's going to be a reality. Not I think in a few years it's going to be a reality. And the more resistant you are to change, and the more uh, you adopt this place of just being a critic, and not bringing
Yeah.
something new to the table, the more you're going to be isolated. And dentistry is already a profession that creates so many isolation, that if you
Yeah.
resist the change, and if you all you do is to criticize this younger generations, like you said, then you'll be missing out a lot of yeah, you're going to be missing out the
Of
joy
learning
of yeah, you're going
and
to be missing out
changing,
the
the joy
joy of,
of
yeah.
changing,
Hmm. Hmm. And the
the
joy
joy
of
of
having a
changing and
team
evolving.
that really
Yes.
is working under the same, and really creating joy,
Yeah.
and also the you're missing the part of being creative, because you're going to be stuck in that
And fun.
reactive dentistry that we were talking about, and there's no fun in there. And it's
Yeah.
I don't know if you uh, been in places like that. I have not been in places like that for I think for already a few years maybe, but I remember being in clinics that the environment, is heavy, and you feel it. It's like you
Yes.
said, at 8 o'clock in the evening, no one is going to be with a smile, working with a smile. No, it's going
Yeah.
to make a payment in a nice way. So there, and I
Yeah.
remember entering in these clinics that you can really feel the heavy environment, and it's possible to have another kind of environment, and it has a lot to do with this, on creating balanced and healthy work hours for you,
Yeah.
and for, if you are a clinic owner, for the clinic that you own. And if you're not a clinic owner, to be really assertive with yourself, to know what you want from your dentistry practice. We also talked about a lot about that. It has to do with you really being able to know what you want from your life, from your
Yeah.
dentistry practice, what you want to do, what kind of dentistry do you want to practice. It has a lot to do with that
Yeah.
self-awareness. Also, I read a very interesting article. I will send it to you, and I'll put it on the episode notes, of an English doctor, saying that he wrote a paper on, his belief that self-awareness is in the roots of the professionalism in the
Of course.
in medicine. And he gives a couple of questions, like, what are your values, what is your goal,
As
about
a
medicine.
professional in person.
Yeah. And what I see, and it's like, dentists don't do this work. So this is very, very needed, and is in the root of all of this work of creating balanced working hours. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Arjun. I don't know if you want to say something
That
else.
was a good one. No, I
Thank you.
think that we covered a lot
let
of
me
stuff.
let me just say that all of this that we talked about, we also discuss in our conscience leadership course. The next edition is going to be in October in Sagres. Again, it's going to be the fourth edition. And in the course, we give all these questions to dentists and to colleagues, and we make them think about all of these
Yeah.
questions, going to understand what they want from their dentistry practice, and then giving them the tools to put that in their practice, in a very practical
Yeah.
way. Because we have the templates. You give everything that you built on your
Yeah.
practice. You give all of that, even what you just you talked about this on this episode, that your for example, your dental nurses are trained to, because you just talked about that, when about the discounts that you make when
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the the treatment
The
is
payment,
made,
when the yeah
everything.
at,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So basically, when the instructions of how the nurses need to talk to the patient, depending on the payment options, we go deep in all that thing, and I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
all of these statics, they pile up and they make your life much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, much easier. And believe it or not, Georges André has everything written down, and everything he gives, everything. I already said
Yes.
several times in this
Yeah.
podcast, but the first time I watched you speak about all of these things, and the way that you had the manual of your practice, and the system that you have, and everything step by step, it's just amazing. So, and you give, and I already said, you're very generous. You give everything away. So if
Yeah.
if you want, if you are dental practice owner, or even if not, if you are a dentist and you are interested to live your dentistry practice in a more conscious way, in a way that's more
Yeah.
according to your values and your vision of dentistry, just join us in Sagres. There's 3 amazing days. There are a lot of brainstorming. There's a lot of networking. So join
Yeah.
us and go to
Yeah. This is
softbites.online. Yeah.
yeah. This is basically the course that we would like to have done
Yes.
maybe several times throughout our career, isn't it? Maybe when I would get out of the course, I would do that. 5 years later, I would do it again. 10 years later, I would do it again. 15 years later, I would do it again. Because
Yes.
what you get from the course is completely different depending on the situation that you are. And I think that it's always helpful. This is the kind of stuff that I wish that I was exposed to when I was younger. It would have saved me a lot of drama, honestly, and money.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so thank you so much, Jorge André.
Thank
It
you
was really
again.
nice. And
And
thank you everyone for watching us and listening to us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
bye bye.
Bye bye, André.